Hello friends, today we are going to deal a very important and relevant topic, how to inculcate values among our students in our day-to-day teaching learning process by using simply NCERT textbooks or any textbook that we are using without putting any additional burden either on teacher or on students. So the learning outcomes will be that we will talk about various activities to be conducted to impart value education, and we will even design some activities. We will also talk about the possibilities of using festivals to impart value education, and at last we will discuss the lesson plan template, how we can incorporate value education components in our competency based lesson plan. So these are some of the activities which we'll have to conduct, and for that we will have to plan perfectly as a language teacher. We can give our students a task to do a collection of moral stories of simply 10 lines so that it will not be a very big burden on them. Then we can simply just design another activity that they will have to guess the moral of the story or alter the moral of the story by putting some other moral value in it. For example, if there is a story related to sacrifice or love or sympathy, they can just change the moral or find out some other value point in that story which is not mentioned by the teacher. We can also use this story for comprehension purpose, for reading task, as we have to develop the reading skills also, and the first section in our English question paper is related to reading skills. So we can use this story and design some comprehension questions on that. So while answering those questions, the student will automatically learn some value points. We can also give our students the story in incomplete form and tell them to just complete it using different themes. We can also tell them to just make a list of various quotable quotes from the textbooks. Talking about characters and their traits can be another activity, and game of moral dilemma is to be played with the students from class 10th onwards, because by the time they had already developed their abstract thinking. We can also celebrate festivals on the theme from the textbook by telling our students that we are celebrating this festival and already you have learned about this festival in your textbook in certain or a specific chapter. We can also give task to collect proverbs with certain value points. Now let us discuss these activities in detail. Recently we conducted uh, two activities on same day, Veer Balak Divas and Christmas. Now it is very essential for our students to have a comparative study of religions at least at cursory level, so that they should develop tolerance and certainly imbibe the virtues of sacrifice, love, giving, care, sharing among them. Now, when we just celebrated Christmas, we talked about various components of Christmas in their textbook, particularly in language teaching in English NCERT textbooks. So this is also the news clipping in which we have mentioned that both the days were celebrated in harmony, giving students a comparative uh, study of two different religions, Sikhism and Christianity, with the same message of sacrifice and love. Now, we celebrated Christmas, so I told my students that in 6th class they have a lesson Who I Am, in which many voices were given place, like Peter, Dolma, Nasir, Sarabjit, Radha, in order to show that there must be inclusiveness in our syllabus and in our culture. So although in my school there was not even a single student from Christian community, but still we celebrated Christmas only because Peter was there in their syllabus, and the students directly correlated this particular fact. Similarly, in 8th class, the first lesson, the best Christmas present in the world, it is mentioned that on that particular night the Germans and the Britishers, they were fighting each other on the war front, but on the Christmas Eve they started singing Christmas carols while shepherds watched, and my students also sang the same. So this is how we are just trying to relate the festival with their textbooks. In class 12 there is a lesson, the rat trap, and the basic theme of the lesson is about redemption, and the setting of the story is also in the month of December when Christmas is near, and it is clearly written that a belief that the essential goodness in human being can be awakened through understanding and love. And you just see there is a reference of Christmas in the lesson. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain. Similarly, in 10th class we have a lesson, the 100 dresses, where there was a gift from Vanda Petronsky to her fellow students on the Christmas Eve, and even they were not good towards Vanda Petronsky, but still she said Merry Christmas to them. And even the words like Christmas tree, candy peppermint sticks, cornucopias, shining transparent papers, and there was smell like Christmas in the air, and there was light shining, reflecting different colors on the snow. This setting clearly gave an opportunity to the students to visualize that how Christmas is celebrated in other parts of the world. Now, this is the activity I told, that a student should be given an opportunity to collect the stories from the library, but that story should be of only 10 lines. It's a very simple story, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, but you just see it's a very simple story with a single message. Now we can simply convert this story into incomplete form and ask them to complete it with some other theme or moral. We can also ask them to give some other moral to the story by guessing in some divergent way. For example, the theme of this story is that if you are always wrong, or if you always lie and cheat on other people, there will come a time when no one will believe you anymore. So the student will say that I value honesty, or I should not dupe anyone, or I should be honest in my dealing. So similarly, comprehension text question should also be asked, and you just see here we have just designed the question in such a manner that the answers are all positive, virtuous things which a student will have to pick up from the text and will have to imbibe. Like, what was the habit of the shepherd boy? He was a liar. He used to cheat people. What trick he played on the day? That is to say, he was a trickster also. Why were the people who came were disappointed? So it means that it was his habit to make people disappoint. And how many times he had duped the people? It means that he duped the people, and we should not do that. So in this way we will have to give our students task in which some moral values should be there. Collection of quotable quotes. Now all we have to fear is fear itself. It is taken from Deep Water, class 12. There is no fear greater than fear itself. Again the same lesson. Courage is not the absence of fear but victory over it. It is taken from Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom. But the theme is all same: freedom, victory, fear. Then faith can move mountains. It is also taken from Bible and from the first chapter, Letter to God. Racism is the byproduct of ultra-nationalism. So these are some of the things we will have to focus, that what is the theme of the lesson or sub-theme of the lesson, or what moral value you can draw from that particular lesson. Then using proverb also, we can tell our students to just make a collection of 10 to 20 proverbs having some good message. But first of all, we'll have to show them the picture. Then we'll have to ask them to think what the picture expresses. They will have to write any proverb in their own language and ask them to find the value associated. Here you can see, he who digs a pit for others will fall in it himself. It's a Romanian proverb, which means that what goes around comes around. The student will say, okay, so we'll have to do good and have good. As you sow, so shall you reap. Now here it is a Zulu proverb. A nice fig is often full of worms. That is to say, don't judge people or things how they look from outside. Judge a book by its content and a man by his character. So you here see that the proverbs that we have chosen are also from other culture, to give him a cosmopolitan view, a global worldwide view, that the virtues are not only contextual in his culture but they are universal. Similarly, he who has a head of wax must not walk in the sun. It's an Italian proverb. It means that one should know his or her own weaknesses and strength. Now work hard, don't be a couch potato, be industrious. This is the picture clearly indicates, and it is a Colombian proverb. Shrimp that fall asleep are carried away by the current. So now this is what I was talking about, the moral dilemma play. This is the game we have to play with our students having higher order thinking. If you want to develop that, in the NCERT textbooks, either at the beginning or at the end, there are certain activities given in which a moral question or a dilemma is given, and then the story is developed on that particular line. For example, a question of trust. It is said that you must set a thief to catch a thief, but it is also said that there must be honor among thieves. Which saying does this story illustrate? So this is a story about a thief, Horace Denby, who is unfairly punished for some people who believe that he was not a totally dishonest person or totally honest person, because he just burgle money once in a year simply to purchase certain books because he was a bibliophile. But again the moral question comes that do intentions justify actions? Would you like Horace Denby do something wrong if you thought your ends justify the means? So these are some of the things. Similarly in Rat Trap also, now the story also focuses on human loneliness and the need to bond with other, and the story is also about a peddler or a thief, but we feel sympathy for him because he is poor. So again there is a moral dilemma. Is poverty is a right for the poor people to choose dishonest ways? So these are some of the things. Already NCERT has given all these type of things in the textbook. Only we'll have to pick up and develop hypothetical abstract thinking by giving them a moral dilemma or a problem, and to ask our students to come to a decision with moral reasoning. Similarly, we will give our students some activities to collect the stories, and already some suggested readings are given at the end of the NCERT textbook. For example, The Last Leaf. It is prescribed in 9th class textbook, and the suggested reading are The Gift of Magi by O. Henry, and it is a great story all about sacrifice and love. Then again there is a story Dusk. Don't judge people by their outer appearances. Okay, Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul or Tough Stuff. So these are some of the stories which adolescent or the grown-ups must read in order to imbibe certain values. Or we can simply ask them, have you ever felt depressed and rejected? How did you overcome such feelings? Share your experience with your classmate. So activities are already there in NCERT textbook. Similarly, the lesson The Beggars, it gives us a question to explore or a question to debate. How can we help beggars or abolish begging? And who was the real or the chief protagonist in the story who helped Lushkov to change? Was he or was she Olga, or was the person who helped him to learn, read and write and gave him some fine white collar job? So these are some of the activities, and the only thing is that we will have to incorporate all these things in our lesson planning. Now I am sharing one lesson plan with you here to show that how we can inculcate all these things in our regular teaching learning process. So this is a poem prescribed for class 12th, Aunt Jennifer's Tiger, and you just see in the learning outcomes, out of 7 learning outcomes, 3 learning outcomes are related to value education. For example, 5th one talks about sympathy for victimized homemakers, 6th one talks about finding a solution to domestic violence, and the 7th one talks about equal status, that is to say equality, or there should be no gender biasness. So this is the way we will have to put certain learning outcomes from value education also. Now this is a detailed pedagogy, that how we will have to design our lesson plan, how we will have to relate this theme from our previously taught lessons. For example, the same theme was in the 10th class poem The Trees by the same poet Hadrinrich, where womanhood in particular was talked about. Then in 11th class, the same theme of equality and status of women in England. So that is to say, the theme or the value may be same in 6th class, 7th class, 8th class, but it should be elaborated by the time the student is reaching maturity on the basis of his abstract thinking, in order to give him a moral reasoning to be developed. Then you just see post activities. Then 21st century skills, creativity, problem solving, thinking and analytical skills must be there. Now interdisciplinary approach. This poem is related with social science because it talks about gender equality. It talks about empathy for women, so it is also related with value education. And female rights, again, it is related with social sciences. Now, what are some other things? The student should collect some newspaper clippings and video clippings and make PPT on this particular theme, that what are the other issues which are discriminating people on the basis of color, caste or creed. So these are some of the things that we will have to do. So the simple point is that we have to incorporate value education in our day-to-day lesson planning. Thank you.